Hey there, science fans. Welcome to our countdown of the top 10 most stupid experiments in science history that actually turned out to be groundbreaking. We're talking about those experiments that made people scratch their heads and say, what are they doing? That's never going to work. These experiments may have seemed ridiculous at first, but they ended up changing society for the better. From the invention of the airplane to the discovery of penicillin, these seemingly foolish experiments have shaped our world in countless ways. Get ready to have your mind blown as we explore the world of stupid science. Our first stop takes us to Kitty Hawk, North Carolina, where two brothers with a dream were about to change transportation forever. Wilbur and Orville Wright, bicycle mechanics by trade, dared to believe that humans could fly. Now, back then, the idea of a heavier-than-air machine actually taking flight, people thought it was pure lunacy. I mean, we're talking about strapping yourself to a glorified kite with a lawnmower engine and hoping for the best, right? The Wright brothers faced endless skepticism and ridicule. Newspapers called them crackpots. Scientists dismissed their work as impossible, but the Wrights, they pressed on, driven by a passion for innovation and a healthy disregard for the word impossible. They built their own wind tunnel to study aerodynamics, meticulously tested different wing designs, and taught themselves to pilot their contraptions. And then, on that blustery December day in 1903, the impossible happened. Their flimsy aircraft, the Wright Flyer, lifted off the ground for a grand total of 12 seconds, traveling a distance shorter than a football field. 12 seconds. Not exactly a transatlantic flight, but it was enough. It proved that powered flight was possible, and it ignited a firestorm of innovation that would eventually lead to the world of aviation we know today. Next up, we're diving into the invisible world of germs with a guy who was obsessed with cleanliness, Louis Pasteur. Now, back in the 19th century, people thought diseases just spontaneously appeared out of thin air. Bad air, they called it. Can you believe that? Pasteur, on the other hand, he suspected there was something else at play, something tiny, something alive. Using his trusty microscope, Pasteur discovered that diseases weren't caused by some mystical miasma, but by microscopic organisms, germs. His germ theory, as it came to be known, was met with fierce resistance from the medical establishment. Imagine telling doctors that they needed to wash their hands and sterilize their instruments. They practically laughed him out of the room, but Pasteur, he was undeterred. He conducted groundbreaking experiments like his famous swan neck flask experiment that proved beyond a doubt that germs were the real culprits behind infections. His discoveries revolutionized medicine, paving the way for sanitation practices, vaccination, and the control of infectious diseases. Thanks to Pasteur, we no longer live in constant fear of invisible enemies lurking in the air we breathe and the water we drink. Our next scientific hero stumbled upon a life-saving discovery thanks to a little bit of messiness and a whole lot of luck. I'm talking about Alexander Fleming and his accidental discovery of penicillin. Picture this, it's 1928 and Fleming's lab is, well, let's just say it wasn't the tidiest. He returns from vacation to find a petri dish containing bacteria that's been contaminated with mold. Now, most of us would just chuck it in the trash and call it a day, right? But Fleming, he's a curious one. He notices something strange. The bacteria around the mold is dead. The mold, it turns out, is producing a substance that kills bacteria. And that, my friends, is how penicillin, the world's first antibiotic, was born. Now, at first, Fleming's discovery was met with skepticism. People just couldn't believe that something as simple as mold could hold the key to fighting deadly infections. But Fleming, he knew he was onto something big, and he was right. Penicillin went on to revolutionize medicine, saving millions of lives and ushering in the era of antibiotics. So next time you see a little mold on your bread, take a moment to appreciate the incredible power of accidental discovery. Our next stop on our journey through scientific stupidity takes us to the world of electricity with a genius inventor who dared to challenge the status quo, Nikola Tesla. Now, in the late 19th century, the battle for control of the electrical grid was raging. In one corner we had Thomas Edison, champion of direct current or DC. In the other corner we had Tesla, a brilliant but eccentric inventor who believed that alternating current, or AC, was the future of power. Now Edison, he was a shrewd businessman and he wasn't afraid to play dirty to discredit Tesla's ideas. He even went so far as to electrocute animals with AC to try to convince the public that it was dangerous. But Tesla, he knew that AC was superior, allowing for the transmission of electricity over long distances and powering entire cities. He conducted daring experiments, lighting up bulbs wirelessly and even shooting electricity through his body to demonstrate its safety. And guess what? Tesla was right. AC eventually won the current war, becoming the standard for power distribution worldwide. Thanks to Tesla's vision, we enjoy the convenience of electricity in our homes and workplaces. Our next stop takes us back to the 16th century, where a rebellious astronomer dared to challenge the very foundations of the universe. I'm talking about the one and only Galileo Galilei. Now, back then, everyone knew that the Earth was the center of the universe. I mean, it was obvious, right? The sun, moon, and stars, they all revolved around us. That's what the church taught. That's what everyone believed. Enter Galileo, armed with his trusty telescope and a healthy dose of skepticism. He started observing the heavens, making detailed notes of the phases of Venus and the moons of Jupiter. And what he saw, well, it didn't quite fit with the whole Earth-centered model. Galileo's observations led him to a radical conclusion. The Earth, along with the other planets, actually revolved around the Sun. This heliocentric theory, as it was called, flew in the face of centuries of established dogma. The Church, not surprisingly, was not amused. Galileo was accused of heresy, forced to recant his findings, and placed under house arrest for the rest of his life. But Galileo, he never wavered in his belief that the Earth moved. His observations and writings helped to spark a scientific revolution, paving the way for a new understanding of our place in the cosmos. Our next stop on our countdown of scientific stupidity takes us to England, where a young Isaac Newton was about to have a life-changing encounter with a falling fruit. Now, before Newton, people knew that objects fell to the ground, but they couldn't explain why. Was it magic? Was it the will of the gods? Enter Newton, sitting under an apple tree, deep in thought. Legend has it that an apple fell from the tree, bonking him on the head and sparking a moment of pure scientific genius. Why does that apple always fall straight to the ground? He wondered. Thus began Newton's quest to understand the force that governed the motion of objects, both on Earth and in the heavens. He called it gravity. Newton's law of universal gravitation, published in his groundbreaking book Principia Mathematica, explained that every object in the universe attracts every other object with a force proportional to their masses and the distance between them. It was a revolutionary idea, and it changed our understanding of the universe forever. Newton's work laid the foundation for classical physics, explaining everything from the tides to the orbits of planets, and all thanks to a falling apple. Our next stop takes us to the lab of a pioneering scientist who made groundbreaking discoveries despite facing incredible challenges and even risking her own life. I'm talking about Marie Curie, the queen of radioactivity. Now, back in the late 19th century, very little was known about radioactivity. But Marie Curie, she was intrigued by the invisible rays emitted by uranium, and she dedicated herself to unraveling their secrets. Working alongside her husband Pierre in a makeshift lab, Curie tirelessly processed tons of pitchblende, a radioactive ore, to isolate the elements responsible for this mysterious phenomenon. It was backbreaking, dangerous work. But Curie, she pressed on, driven by an insatiable thirst for knowledge, and her efforts paid off. She discovered two new elements, polonium, named after her native Poland, and radium, a highly radioactive element that would go on to revolutionize medicine and industry. Now, at the time, the dangers of radiation weren't fully understood. Curie herself suffered from radiation sickness, and she eventually died from its effects. But her discoveries paved the way for the development of X-rays, radiation therapy for cancer, and countless other life-saving applications. Our next stop takes us to a quiet monastery in Austria, where a humble monk named Gregor Mendel was about to unlock the secrets of inheritance. Now, before Mendel, heredity was kind of a mystery. People knew that traits were passed down from parents to offspring, but they didn't understand how. Enter Mendel, a meticulous scientist with a passion for pea plants. He spent years carefully crossbreeding thousands of pea plants, meticulously tracking traits like flower color, seed shape, and plant height. And through his experiments, Mendel discovered the fundamental principles of inheritance, now known as Mendel's laws of inheritance. He found that traits are determined by discrete units of inheritance, which we now call genes. Mendel's work laid the foundation for the field of genetics, revolutionizing our understanding of how traits are passed down through generations. His discoveries have had a profound impact on fields ranging from medicine to agriculture, allowing us to develop new disease treatments, breed hardier crops, and even understand our own family histories in a whole new light. And to think, it all started with a bunch of pea plants. Our next stop takes us to the mind of a theoretical physicist who dared to imagine the universe in a whole new way. I'm talking about the one and only Albert Einstein. Now, before Einstein, physicists had a pretty good grasp on the laws of motion and gravity. But Einstein, he wasn't satisfied with the status quo. He started thinking about things like, what would it be like to ride on a beam of light, and what happens when objects move at incredibly high speeds? His thought experiments led him to develop his theory of special relativity, which stated that space and time are not absolute, but are relative to the observer's motion. It was a radical idea, challenging everything people thought they knew about the universe, but Einstein, he didn't stop there. He went on to develop his theory of general relativity, which explained gravity as a curvature of space-time caused by mass and energy. Einstein's theories revolutionized our understanding of the universe, leading to groundbreaking discoveries like black holes, gravitational waves, and the expansion of the universe. And to think, it all started with a guy sitting in a patent office, daydreaming about the nature of space and time. Our final stop on our countdown of scientific stupidity takes us to the lab of a brilliant chemist who made a groundbreaking discovery that revolutionized our understanding of life itself. I'm talking about Rosalind Franklin and her pioneering work on DNA. Now, back in the 1950s, the race was on to unravel the structure of DNA, the molecule that carries genetic information. Scientists knew that DNA was crucial for life, but they didn't know what it looked like or how it worked. Enter Rosalind Franklin, a skilled X-ray crystallographer. She used her expertise to capture the first clear images of DNA fibers, including the now famous Photo 51. This image provided crucial clues about DNA's double helix structure, a groundbreaking discovery that would change biology forever. Unfortunately, Franklin's contributions were not fully recognized during her lifetime. Her work was shared without her permission, and she was largely written out of the story of DNA's discovery. But today, Rosalind Franklin is recognized as a scientific hero, a pioneer who helped to unlock the secrets of life itself. And there you have it, the top 10 most stupid experiments that turned out to be groundbreaking. From flying machines to moldy bread to pea plants, these seemingly ridiculous ideas led to incredible discoveries that have shaped our world in countless ways. These scientists proved that sometimes the most ridiculous ideas can lead to the most incredible discoveries. They dared to challenge conventional wisdom, to think differently, and to pursue their curiosity wherever it led them. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more amazing science stories. Keep those brains curious and never be afraid to ask why. You never know what amazing discoveries you might make.